Somewhere in a vault at Yale University sits a book, a small book, 240 pages of vellum, animal skin, covered in a language that nobody has ever seen before or since, illustrated with drawings of plants that do not exist on Earth, decorated with astronomical charts that do not match any known star system, written in an alphabet of 25 to 30 characters that has never appeared in any other document in human history. It is called the Voynich Manuscript, and in the 600 years since it first appeared, it has defeated every codebreaker who has ever attempted it. Medieval scholars, Second World War cryptographers who cracked the Enigma code, the NSA IBM supercomputers, artificial intelligence, every tool that human ingenuity has produced has been aimed at this book. Not one sentence has been deciphered, not one word has been confirmed, not one plant has been identified. What you're about to hear is not a story about a book. It is a story about the limits of human knowledge and about what it means when something exists that we simply cannot explain. The Voynich Manuscript gets its name from Wilfrid Voynich, a Polish antique book dealer who purchased it in 1912 from a Jesuit college in Italy. Voynich immediately recognized that he had found something extraordinary. The manuscript was carbon dated in 2009 to between 1404 and 1438, making it approximately 600 years old. The vellum it is written on is genuine. The ink is consistent with 15th century materials. The book itself is not a modern forgery. Whatever it is genuinely old. Before Voynich purchased it, the manuscript had a documented history, stretching back to the court of Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II in Prague around 1600. Rudolf, a man obsessed with alchemy, astrology, and the occult, allegedly paid 600 gold ducats for it, a fortune. He believed it was the work of Roger Bacon, the 13th century English friar and philosopher who was so far ahead of his time that his contemporaries accused him of sorcery. Before Rudolf, we do not know. The manuscript simply appears. No record of its creation, no record of its author, no record of the language it is written in or the civilization that produced it. It arrives in history fully formed, undecipherable, and completely alone. There is no other document anywhere in the world written in the same script. No dictionary, no parallel text, no Rosetta Stone, just 240 pages of something that human knowledge cannot process. The Voynich manuscript is divided into sections. The largest section, taking up the majority of the book, contains illustrations of plants, hundreds of them, detailed botanical drawings showing roots, stems, leaves, flowers, drawn with obvious care and knowledge by someone who understood botany. And here is where the mystery deepens beyond simple cryptography. Not one of the plants in the Voynich manuscript has been positively identified as a real species. Botanists have spent decades comparing the illustrations to every known plant on Earth, past and present, extinct and living. Some drawings bear a passing resemblance to real plants, enough to suggest the artist was inspired by real botany. But none of them are accurate depictions of any identified species. The plants in the Voynich manuscript do not exist, or at least they do not exist in any botanical record we have. There are three possible explanations. First, the plants are purely invented. The entire manuscript is a sophisticated fiction with no real content. Second, the plants are symbolic representations of real plants, deliberately disguised to hide their identity. A medical or alchemical text encoding the properties of real plants in a visual code. Third, and this is the explanation that keeps certain researchers awake at night, The plants are accurately drawn from life, and the life they were drawn from was somewhere we have not yet looked, or somewhere that no longer exists. The second major section of the Voynich Manuscript contains astronomical illustrations, circular diagrams, star charts, concentric rings with symbols and labels in the Voynich script, a zodiac section showing the 12 astrological signs, some recognizable, some with subtle differences from any known historical zodiac system, and a series of cosmological diagrams that researchers have spent decades attempting to match against known astronomical systems. In 2012, a researcher named Giuliano Di Rocco proposed that the circular diagrams in the astronomical section represent the Andromeda Galaxy, making the Voynich Manuscript the earliest known depiction of a galaxy in human history if correct. Other researchers have proposed connections to Arabic astronomical traditions, to the astronomical knowledge of the Aztec civilization, to a lost European astronomical school. None of these proposals has achieved academic consensus. None has been definitively disproved either. What makes the astronomical section particularly significant is this: whoever created the Voynich Manuscript had serious astronomical knowledge. The diagrams are not the work of someone decorating a page with random circles. They represent a systematic cosmological understanding, a model of the heavens encoded in the same unreadable script as everything else. The author knew the sky. They understood patterns in it, and they recorded what they knew in a language that we cannot read. The code-breaking history of the Voynich Manuscript is a parade of brilliant minds walking into a wall. During World War II, the US Army Signal Corps, the same organization that would go on to crack Japanese and German military codes, assigned their best cryptographers to the manuscript. They failed completely. William Friedman, arguably the greatest cryptographer of the 20th century, the man who broke the Japanese purple cipher, spent years on the Voynich Manuscript. He concluded that it was written in a synthetic constructed language. He could not read it. The NSA has multiple classified assessments of the manuscript. What those assessments conclude is not publicly known. In 2013, a researcher named Stephen Bax claimed to have decoded 10 words. His methodology was disputed. In 2017, a computer scientist named Greg Kondrak used artificial intelligence to analyze the manuscript's statistical patterns and concluded it was likely written in Hebrew using a specific substitution cipher. Other researchers immediately challenged his methodology and conclusions. In 2019, a researcher named Gerard Cheshire published a paper claiming to have fully decoded the manuscript as a medieval Romance language. The paper was widely criticized by linguists and cryptographers. The journal that published it later expressed concerns about its peer review process. Here is what 600 years of serious effort have established. The Voynich script has consistent internal patterns. It behaves like a real language, not random symbols. It has word frequency distributions that match natural languages. It has grammatical structures, but it also has statistical properties that no known natural language shares. It is as if someone took a real language and filtered it through a system that we do not have the key to. And that key has never been found. Here is what the Voynich Manuscript actually represents, not as a puzzle, but as a philosophical problem. It is a document that communicates the existence of knowledge, while refusing to communicate the knowledge itself. It says someone knew something significant enough to spend enormous time and skill recording, something organized enough to fill 240 pages with consistent structured content, something that required sophisticated botanical, astronomical, and possibly medical understanding to produce. And then it says nothing more. The knowledge is present and completely inaccessible. The philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein wrote, "Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent." He meant that the limits of language are the limits of our world, that what we cannot express in language, we cannot fully think. The Voynich Manuscript inverts this perfectly. It speaks, clearly and at length, in a language whose limits we cannot find because we cannot enter it at all. It is knowledge that exists entirely outside the boundaries of everything we can think or say, and that raises the deepest question of all. Is it possible for genuine knowledge to be permanently inaccessible? Can something be real and true and important and simply beyond our reach forever? Most of human history has assumed the answer is no. That knowledge, given enough time and enough effort, yields to inquiry. The Voynich Manuscript has resisted 600 years of the most sophisticated inquiry our civilization has been able to bring to bear. It has not yielded, not one word, not one confirmed identification, not one cracked cipher. Perhaps the most honest thing we can say about the Voynich Manuscript is this: we do not know what it is, we do not know who wrote it, we do not know what language it is in, we do not know what the plants are, we do not know what the stars represent, and we do not know why, after 600 years, we still cannot answer any of these questions. That combination of unknowns is either the signature of the greatest hoax in history, or the signature of something that genuinely exceeds our current capacity to understand. The Voynich Manuscript sits in a climate-controlled vault in the Botanical Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University. It has been fully digitized. High-resolution scans of every page are freely available online. Anyone can look at it. Anyone can attempt to decode it. Thousands of people around the world, amateur cryptographers, linguists, historians, mathematicians, have devoted years of their lives to it. It remains unread. New research continues. In 2024, artificial intelligence tools of a sophistication that would have been unimaginable to William Friedman are being applied to the manuscript's statistical patterns. Whether they will succeed where everything else has failed remains to be seen. The manuscript has outlasted every methodology brought to it so far. It has outlasted the careers of the researchers who studied it. It has outlasted entire schools of cryptographic thought. There is a particular kind of arrogance in the assumption that any mystery, given enough computing power and enough time, must eventually yield. The Voynich Manuscript is a 600-year-old reminder that this assumption may not be correct, that somewhere in the record of human knowledge, there are things that were known and are now lost, in a way so complete that even the fact of their loss is encrypted. The knowledge is there, on 240 pages of 600-year-old vellum, in a language that nobody alive has ever spoken, waiting, empires of thought. This is only the beginning.